Hi, it's Nadira with Fresh Fire International Ministries, and I'd like to thank you for joining us for another Wisdom Wednesday Nugget. Let's talk about fasting. What is fasting? Well, for those who don't know, the book Celebration of Discipline by Richard J. Foster describes it as throughout Scripture, fasting refers to abstaining from food or not eating food for spiritual purposes. One thing to keep in mind is that prayer and fasting go hand in hand. There should not be fasting without prayer. I've heard it said that if you're fasting and you're not praying, you are basically on a diet, and we don't want that. We need the spiritual power that comes from fasting, so there has to be prayer. And before you begin a fast, define the purpose. What areas do you need God to move in your lives? Be clear on that before you begin a fast. Fresh Fire is inviting you all to join us in a 40-day fast. We will be fasting for our country, our children, our churches, and for personal breakthroughs. We are beginning September 8th and continuing through October 18th. You can check the website for specific information on how everyone can participate in the fast, and that is FFIministries with an S.com. And I'd like to add to that, adding to your purpose for fasting, praying and fasting for our pastors and leaders of God. You know, this is a trying time for God's shepherds with so much going on. And I think it will be great to just cover them with our prayers. So why fast and pray? Isaiah 58:6 says, "Is not this the fast that I have chosen to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke?" So often fasting addresses issues that prayer alone hasn't changed. You know, I've heard testimonies of family members of people who have fasted and how they've had healing, deliverance, and breakthroughs, even though those family members are not the ones actually fasting. Jensen Franklin says in his book titled Fasting, which is a very good book, that fasting is a spiritual feast. So although we're turning down our plates, we are so full. It's so filling to fast and just pray and focus on the things of God. It just builds up your spiritual man so much. And, you know, there are people who have received callings from God after a fast. So even with the benefits that God may bless us with, after fasting or during a fast, we fast to hear God better, to draw closer to Him, and to position ourselves more into God's will. One caveat though, before you begin a fast, please consult with your doctor or healthcare practitioner to make sure that it is safe for you to fast and what type of fast would be best for you. Which brings me to the types of fast. There are different types of fast, from a full fast, there's a partial fast, Daniel fast, and even just fasting from a certain food. But when you fast, let God lead you in what type of fast to begin. Christianity.com has an article on fasting where Meg Bucher says, fasting is a form of worship, an acknowledgement that we need God more than food. Whew, Powerful. I love that. Fasting is not the same as diet, nor is losing weight the goal of a fast. Gratitude for the food God provides gives worship to God. And in all we do, the aim is to keep God on the throne of our hearts, the center of our lives, and the tops of our minds. You know, there are people who make fasting a lifestyle. I think of a ministry that they fast corporately once a week for God to move mightily through the ministry. And God is doing just that, moving mightily through that ministry. And there are many Bible examples of fasting. I think of Esther 4:16. I think of Exodus 34:28, where Moses was fasting for 40 days and he received the 10 commandments. Jonah verses 5 through 9 talks about the Ninevites fasting and praying after they received the warning from Jonah. And even Jesus himself fasted for 40 days in Matthew 3 verse 4. One thing I would like to say is that God accepts our attempts. I remember when I was new to fasting and praying, and I would cheat. I couldn't make it through the whole day. And I felt so bad, and I felt, so guilty. And I talked with a pastor friend of mine about it, and this is exactly what she said to me. God accepts our attempts because he knows our hearts. And so if you're new to fasting and you are joining us and there are a few little hiccups along the way, I encourage you not to beat yourself up. I encourage you to not stay in a place of feeling guilty, but remember this wisdom that was passed on to me from this pastor, because I believe that is true. God does accept our attempts. He is a loving God. So you can check out our website for more specific information on how everyone can participate in this corporate fast. And again, the website is ffiministries.com. So we hope you will join us, and we will see you next week on Wisdom Wednesday. God bless you. Bye-bye.